We'll go ahead and start the Delaware County Redevelopment Commission. It is December 17th, 2019. Time is 9:01. If everybody can stand for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Craig, can you do roll call?
Yes, sir. King?
Here.
Boyer?
Here.
Wiggerly?
Yes.
Conyers? Here. Whitehead?
Here.
Paul Garrison absent.
Need the approval for the minutes for 10/16 of 19.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We'll move to the Morrison Road Trail Sidewalk Project. Roger?
Good morning, everybody. I want to say that we're now done with the project, and I've got Jacob here, approved. Been really good to work with, very responsive, so I've enjoyed working with those folks. So today, what I'm going to do, a couple things here. I'm going to go ahead and give you the kind of summary of the project, where we are with the final numbers, and then we have the final change order to work out. Actual reduction to what it is.
Thank you, Roger.
So essentially, the original project amount was $2,497,400. We had additional change orders amount of $437,790.73, of which part was I was adding the extra traffic work and other sidewalk issues along sidewalk areas along the Walmart. That was where that increase came from. So that adjusted amount came up to $2,935,190.73, and actually had a net reduction in the contract amount of $100,454.23. So the final contract amount is $2,834,736.50. So a little bit left over, but I think that's just I don't think anything was really beyond what we would expect for a project like this. So we stayed pretty well within the budget, unless we added items to that we had planned to bid already. So what I have before you is a certificate of substantial completion, and Brad, I don't know if I gave this to you once before, but I made some extra copies. I've got Jay to sign this, but there's a certificate of substantial completion on the second page for you, the board, to sign, and then I've got a final change order, a summary that shows basically for that $100,454.23, and on the back there's the actual change order form to sign at that location. So I've got 3 forms for that. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Do you need a motion to approve the change order?
Roger, do we need the motion to approve the final change order?
Yes, both of those. Both
That and the final, and the certificate of final
substantial completion.
Okay.
Eugene has a question.
Does this have to be signed today? I mean, we're just getting handed this home, like time to read over.
No, I don't.
It's up to you.
We could do it in the January
Yeah,
meeting.
on Saturday's January's agenda. That's all right.
You'd like to get paid eventually for
That's fine. The January meeting will be okay.
Thank you.
Well,
The change order deduct is, was a pay item job, so when you get done, you didn't use all the asphalt to go through there, and final off your numbers, deduct whatever was left. That way, that way it's all done. There's not pay items.
yeah, so just to clarify, Jacob's invoice is submitted and is on this agenda to be paid, his final. So you,
That's the retainage. That's the rest.
oh, that's just a retainage.
Yeah, that's retainage. The project's paid in full. It's just it's just
The
the last half of
retainage is what's on today's invoices to be paid.
I don't think we should hold up on paying his retainage.
I don't want, yeah, I'd appreciate you approving his retainage payment today.
Yeah, and that's in this, it's spelled out in this letter also, that we
Okay.
recommend payment of that
Sounds
amount,
good.
$59,000.
We've all been out there and seen it.
I just asked about signing.
Yes, yeah, signing can hold until January. Yeah, absolutely.
I'll be back there all in January, if you have any questions on that too. The other item, if there's no other questions, is in phase 2, we've had 2 appraisers now complete their work on the easements for the phase 2 work. And so today I've got an agreement for us and basically our buyer, Todd Taylor, who we worked with last time. And the total amount for that amendment is $38,500. And what this does, it takes care of easements all the way through the whole project. I'll be discussing the project with Brad after this meeting to discuss the specifics of that project with the easements and so on, any details he may have questions on. But I did want to give a summary of what we're looking at so far as the budget goes, so far as from here, what kind of costs we have expecting. We have estimated construction cost in here for phase 2 an amount of $1,240,500.
Can you repeat that amount, Roger?
Yes, $1,240,500.
Thank you.
And that's really based on the work that was done recently, some of those unit prices. I know that unit prices, contractors are very busy right now, so we hope this is in the ballpark, but we didn't try to be too short on dollars, but this with the way that the work is right now, our best estimate right now is that number, $1,240,500. We also have in there the buyer's cost, I just mentioned, $38,500, and we went and showed the construction engineering, which would be the construction management side, $70,000. The inspection resident project rep, $140,000, and then land acquisition, I've got the $125,000 in there. I don't want to get too particular. We've got, because it's a public meeting, we've got appraiser amounts from 2 different appraisers. So I don't really want to be fair for the negotiation process. I'm not going to give you those numbers, but I just want to give you an idea that where that falls. This is a close number as a total of all those together if we get to that point. I'm hoping, and I'll talk to Brad about this, that maybe perhaps, because one of the larger ones is Ball State University property. West of Tillotson on the north side of the gallery, for example, there's going to be an 8-foot wide sidewalk running through there. So that's a pretty good size area. We've talked with Jim Lowe with Ball State about that. We're also looking at sidewalks east of Tillotson that's owned by Ball State as well, and that's really just a temporary easement there. But the one on the west of Tillotson would be a permanent easement for that sidewalk. So one thought is maybe if the board or Brad or somebody may want to approach Ball State, maybe of course Jim Lowe is the head of the facilities there. But maybe somebody else, if you know anybody else there you may want to deal with, that might be something to see if they would be willing to donate.
Will we still be having our meeting with President Burns,
Yes, sir.
our first meeting in January?
Yes.
We
Ask.
can
That'd be good
ask,
timing.
because this actually benefits their students also that live in that area, so.
And, you know, even if we want to have a public meeting for some of the other folks out there, businesses, when it's hotels, you know, other folks that just never built sidewalks when they built their
Yeah.
facilities.
And it'll benefit their
It'll
business.
benefit their
so,
business.
yeah.
And if there's I mean, we did at phase 1, we only had like 1 or 2 people show up out of all the 23, whatever, parcels. So we're willing to do that if you'd like to have another public meeting, we can do that before we send out the buyer, for example.
I think we'd like to do that.
Do that, just give them an
Yeah, I think it's
opportunity.
important. I think
Yeah.
that's an important step to do.
We
And
go over, yeah.
We've watched some other trail activity
Yeah.
locally that didn't
Okay.
have those meetings prior to the work, and
Let's plan on doing that.
I think we headed off a lot of controversy by
Okay.
doing it prior.
Okay.
Well, it's one of those things too, if Ball State buys property,
Mhm.
it takes it off the tax roll. So you know.
But this is
And it benefits their students,
Yeah,
employees.
now, these are easements, not
Right.
actual rights of way. So we
Right.
did that intentionally because there's some things that occurs when we do get actual rights of way, you actually can move the building
Mhm.
setback line. So we
Yeah.
thought, we don't want to mess up building, businesses, that's why we want to get perpetual easements
Mhm.
instead, that way. So that was the intent there, so.
I have a question about the amendment, just for clarification. Is it because phase 2 is not included in the original?
Right.
Okay.
We didn't know how many parcels we were gonna have just yet. We had an idea for the appraisers at the time, but now we want to make sure what we've got in there. This may be lower, depending on how much we do here, so I'll
Okay.
discuss it with Brad on how far we're looking at budget numbers right now. Right now, the total is about 1.6, and I know it's gonna be close to your dollar budget there, so we'll need to have some discussion with Brad on that, how he wants to move forward with that. Whether or not we cut out a section east of Tilson, for example, maybe one option, you could save about $500,000 in construction, because that one's gonna include some storm drainage in there, because there's no curbing along there, along McGalliard 332, and it's a pretty long stretch through there, and that's potential savings if you decide, to take that out, but I'll have discussions with Brad on.
Roger and I are gonna meet and look at some of the proposed routes because this board does not have enough money to do everything that was proposed.
Right.
Yeah.
So Roger and I are gonna sit down and look at some of those routes and we're gonna talk about maybe some recommendations that he can bring back to you at a future meeting to shave off some sections of the project and keep it within your budget. Okay, so that'll be a future meeting. There'll be a suggestion on what we reduce from the project.
And y'all, what about here, if you see anything on the first project that needs to be amended or whatever, we painted some curbs, for example, in McGalliard, that helps a lot. But if you see anything there that you'd like to see another amenity or whatever added, we could look at trying to include that in phase 2 if we can. So appreciate that.
So do you need a motion from the board for the amendment?
Yes, does the board want to consider that for
I would
January?
like to do it in January after we can speak with President Merms.
Sounds good.
That'd be good.
Okay,
Okay. Thank you.
thank you, Roger.
Next, we have the MIC Trail project.
Hello, everyone.
So,
Sam Webb with DS. So we've been working on the Muncie Industrial Center Trail over the last year here, doing the design on this. And this is just an overall map. Been working closely with Brad and Joe on the project and land back in general. And where the project stands now is we have advertised for bids, and we will be receiving those bids. The plan is to receive those bids at your January meeting if all goes as planned. So what you're looking at here, the red is our current project that we are advertised for. This is actually an exhibit that we submitted as part of the Next Level Trails funding application. We submitted as round 1 in the spring, but then we also submitted round 2 in November, and we've got some feedback from DNR that we're hopeful that we will get about a $600,000 grant. So we'll be we're answering those questions this week, and again, fingers crossed that will come through. I would anticipate that funding should be awarded either this month or next month, which is why we cannot award this construction contract until that grant money has been awarded. So if we need to push that bid receive date back to the February meeting, then we can do that. But other than that, I just wanted to stop by and give you an update. We're in bids. We'll be moving to construction likely in the spring. Our substantial completion date for now is penciled in at September, with final completion in October. We have about 6 or 7 plan holders right now and contractors. So again, we're hopeful that we get some good bids, as Roger kind of mentioned. Pricing right now, a lot of contractors are setting up their work for the next construction season, so hopefully we get some good bids in. Current construction estimate is going to be about 2.5 million, which has stayed pretty close to what we originally estimated. There's been a couple pieces where we've added some sidewalk like along Memorial Drive there, just to connect the dots with the neighborhood there along Memorial Drive to get them over to the trail. We still have some outstanding easements. I know we've been working with Joe and Brad closely on that to try to progress that. I think we're about 17 out of 23 potentially, and there's some challenging landowners here, some businesses and some companies that are owned from out of state and so forth. So, but we're working through it. I'm happy with that progress, and I think we'll be able to get there without impacting the contractors' work much, if any. So other than that, that's just a quick update. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
I'm just surprised how many historic structures are in here.
Yes, the Next Level Trails application through DNR is quite extensive, so they want to see a lot of that information, and so yeah, it's been a learning process, but again, we are in the running, and I think them asking us questions kind of shows that we are in the running, so.
That's good.
Yeah.
So one of the parts of these trails from the state, one of their priorities is connections to other regional connected trails. Carrie, you're real familiar with this from the Cardinal Greenway Board, but this system could have a potential connection to the White River Greenway Trail, which would score additional points on grant applications and ups the status of the trails. So that's a good thing.
And that yellow piece is obviously a pretty difficult piece with the White River and the railroad there, which is, we had applied for round one for a much larger project, and with DNR's advice, we kind of whittled it down. So that would, if we could connect that piece, I mean, it would be a critical, I think everyone here knows how the railroad is kind of a separator. So if we can get over that, that would be excellent connections.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Next we'll go to El Caraton.
Yeah. I had shared with the board a landscaping quote provided by El Caraton. This is a Mexican restaurant that's currently, you may have visited their location in Winchester before. I've been there. I thought it was a nice place. They've identified Daleville as a location where they'd like to have a second restaurant. They bought the old, what we used to know as the Racer's Edge. It was a former Denny's prior to that. It's just west of the Arby's location in Daleville. They're turning that into a new Mexican restaurant for Daleville at this time. That location's been for sale for a lot of years. It's had activity, but nobody seemed to bite it off. So El Caraton has taken that on. I know they're spending a lot of cash out of pocket to remodel that location currently. They're excited about the Daleville location. They've received some good feedback in that area on having a new restaurant. If you're familiar with that location, there's grass and landscaping all the way down 67, except at that location. That's just parking lot up to the kind of entrance access road there. There is no landscaping. So they had proposed what they thought was kind of an excessive budget of $9,941 to do a landscaping area to try to make it look nice and make it more uniform, make that corridor look better down through there. They're asking for the commission's assistance with those funds. I've heard from a couple of the members about having interest in doing this, but maybe not with the full amount. And so I'm happy to answer any questions about this. And yeah.
Brad?
Yeah.
Like the two speaking with the town of Daleville, they are one, I mean, to me, we went over and seen them. They're the true American deal. They're paying for this as they go. So that business, what you invest in there, that business has been paid for. It's a family-owned, operated. They work from one to the other. They're doing it sensibly, they're doing it reasonably, and moving over. And it would be a tremendous improvement in that corridor between Pilot and the other two fast food restaurants right there. It's an actual family sit-down restaurant.
Mr. President, we have had a lot of requests to do things like this, and I want to try to remain consistent, so I would propose a motion to be involved, but cap our involvement at 5,000 to show them that we're trying to be a business partner with them, but we don't want to pay all the freight.
You'll make that a motion?
I'll make that a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion by the board? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstained?
Good. Thank you.
Next, we'll go to the offer to purchase 6 acres on Bethel.
Yes, I also had emailed the board previously the offer of $275,000 to purchase acreage on West Bethel. This was property that the commission received back from Cole Academy in exchange for their project that they had completed. There was an appraisal on this property previously when we acquired it at $300,000, which was considerably higher, we thought. We know that the purchase price from Cole Academy was only $150,000. So I was optimistic that the appraisal was actually where we were at numbers-wise. There's not been a lot of activity on this piece of property for the last few years. I counter offered after sharing this with the board at $290,000. They countered back with asking for a 120-day period for them to do due diligence. I made the counter, or Monty Brown from Coldwell Banker made the offer contingent upon this board's formal approval in a meeting. So if you're acceptable to this, it would need a motion and a second. They did disclose what they would be constructing at the site. The proposed use of the development is a medical office building. Proposed square feet of the building to be constructed is between 25 to 30,000 square feet. They will be requesting whatever zoning change is necessary for medical office space. The proposed capital investment is $8 to $10 million, not including medical equipment in the building. Anticipated jobs are 40 to 60, both a combination of part-time and full-time jobs at this location. I think it's a good end use. It's congruent with the neighbor property, which is American Health Networks, and I'd ask for your approval of this counteroffer today.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstained? Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
Matt Eckerly called this morning and will not be here because of the weather.
That is correct.
So we'll look forward to
Push out
seeing
to
him in January. We'll go down to the invoices. Just get a motion to pay all invoices, or does anybody have any questions?
I have a question. In the email you sent out, there was another invoice at the end that I don't see on here from SME.
If I skip putting that on there.
Or maybe we received it. I can
Yeah.
put this together. Soil and materials engineers.
Yes, I apologize. I've skipped putting that one on there, probably because of receiving this late. That is a phase 1 for the former CR3 tire site. It is the update to the phase 1 for that site. And no, Bill, you had done some work on that.
We did, that's with IDM. They finally get that, no further action or letter. I mean, it's at the lawyer. We are promised to have it by the end of the year. And I mean, that's Tracy, that's Andrea from IDM. I do not have it as of yet, but I think we're at the end of this road. So this is the last piece.
What's the amount?
The amount is $2,000.
Yes.
And I can pass that around if you'd like to see it. If y'all would like me to put that on the January agenda, I can do that, or
You included it in the email. and
I
just
did.
wanted to make sure
It's my omission on the agenda, so
we had the opportunity to look at it.
yeah,
We can add that.
Yeah.
got it.
You can put that motion.
I'd like to include that invoice in the motion.
Thank you.
Second.
A motion and a second to pay all invoices and also add SME, the C3 for $2,000.
Correct.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstained? Next, we'll move down to the bonds for Park Save-A-Lot and Bell Perch.
I'll move to approve the bond payments.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstained? We'll go to public comments. Go ahead, Ron.
My name's Ron Quakenbush, and I'm the president of the Delaware County Council. And I noticed one item on here where I'd read in the minutes from the last meeting that you're buying cars for the sheriff. James, you'll probably know what I'm going to ask you. What happens to the old cars? Every time we give the sheriff new cars, they say, oh, we're going to do this, this.
Yeah, they were supposed to trade it in. I haven't been out there to ask
Okay,
them.
that's an actual
But that
trade-in
was
deal
one of
with
the
this.
one things that I asked them, is find how many cars that they could trade in, and they said that they could find some.
That's the same answer we always get, though, and so
Yeah.
I'm kind of challenging you to
Yeah.
follow up on that, because this is different funds that I have jurisdiction
Yeah.
over.
Well, Tony and Jeff both told me that they'll find them to trade in,
Okay.
and I'm gonna take them at their word. I think there are a couple guys that
Well, let's hope.
they'll do what they say.
Let's hope so, because I had some conversation about the parking spaces across from the county building on the north side after you guys had given them the old jury lot. And the new sheriff, before he was elected, told me that they wouldn't be using those spaces.
Mhm.
But they do use them, and they're all marked now, and the public can't use them. And I still know that it's difficult for the public to get parking near the building. And I just wondered what happened there.
We've got the new lot, correct?
Which one's
The one a little bit farther down on Washington Street.
So that, yeah, that was the lot that was originally gonna get traded with the sanitary district.
Right, but the
Yeah.
sanitary district has never taken deed
Correct.
to that lot,
Yep.
but I believe haven't we taken deed to the new one?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not actually sure off the top of my head, but I can look really quick and tell you.
Talking about the old jury lot?
Yeah.
I just took advantage of you there a little bit, getting off the
Yeah.
subject, but
Maybe the sheriff can.
There's- ever since back when commissioners owned the cars and we bought the cars.
Mm-hmm.
But ever since we went to that state bid, and then it kind of gets out from under jurisdiction, and then now I see
We
where
still
you're
own,
using TIF dollars to buy cars, that's another layer there.
yeah, we still hold titles to the cars
I
in the
understand that,
commissioner's
but-
office, so.
And I have an inventory of the update of those cars, but I never get a list as a council person of the ones they took off the list. I always just get the updated list. And it's a little difficult to keep track of that.
And we can ask Sheriff Skinner to get us a list.
I would appreciate it
Well,
if you could
they
give us a
have to-
list.
Yeah, and they have to turn it into us because we have to take it
Yeah.
off the inventory.
Well, as member of the
Sometimes a lot of
council,
stuff doesn't get
as
taken
a member
off.
of the council, I appreciate it, the council members get a copy of what they're liquidating.
Yeah, I'll try to do that.
Okay.
Remember that. 'Cause,
Yeah, 'cause I
yeah,
know.
the land reports, they have to turn, that Nelson something that does all that.
I know, but in the past, they said, oh, we kept this car for this reserve or that reserve or that purpose.
I don't know if they.
Because it wasn't good enough to drive, but it was good enough to keep, you know what I mean?
Well, I know some of the reserve cars, and that's one thing I asked them, that they're starting to fall apart,
Okay.
and they're having the reserves pay for, having the repairs and everything on the cars, because we've sort of helped them out with the repairs on that, so I've asked them that some of the vehicles that they might look to trade in, some of the Tahoes, if they're still in pretty decent shape, give those to the reserves, and the reserves cars, get rid of them and trade them in, and they said that they would.
I have no problem with that, other than this, just, like I said, this is another layer of funding. I think,
Yeah, yeah.
that we don't have jurisdiction on. Thank you.
Anything else?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Ron, I do want to give you guys a little kudos though. We're coming in, possibly not having to borrow money next year. You know, with everybody, you know, and I'd like everybody to look how the county works together, taking care of everything. We've come out pretty good. Ron and the council's done a great job, and appreciate everything you guys have done, Ron. Keep everything straight, but I know Donna's the one that keeps you guys straight, so.
Well, it goes back, James, and I thank you for the comments and the compliment, but it goes back to when you were president of the council and we had a RIF, as we called it.
Yeah.
26 employees, and in the meantime, now I understand that some of these blogs are accusing us of using the new public safety money to pad the budget, but that public safety money nearly all went to 8 new correctional officers and sheriff pension plan and things that we couldn't afford. We've been working on the budget from when you were there all that time. It's been a 10-year process to get this back in shape after the circuit breaker.
At times you always wondered what I was doing, but there was always a.
Oh, I know. I was like there kicking you in the butt, telling you to go ahead. Of course, I was a minority member, remember? I can cheer you on.
But, appreciate that, Ron, but everything you guys has done, we appreciate it. Thank you. So we had a motion to adjourn. Everybody say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Adjourn.